Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. I'm excited to have you in today. We are talking about clarity and vision and why it's so important on driving your business forward and actually getting results, not just spinning your wheels forever. So, I have an amazing guest with me today, Jake Smolarek. Welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Well, I already know that you're going to be better than the technology today. Of course, we have to start with some technical issues bright and early Monday morning, but I'm excited to dive in here because this is a topic that we've talked a little bit about on this show over the past 350 episodes, but it's one that resonates with the audience, and I think we really need to just break through it. So, when you say people need clarity or people are lacking clarity, why don't you talk to me about that for a minute and explain really what that is and what that looks like for people?
Well, you see, more often than not, when I have people coming to me for coaching, I will ask them very simple question. I will ask, what is it that you actually want? And most people, maybe not most, but quite a few people actually struggle to answer that exactly. Like, what is it that you want to do with your life, with your relationship, with your business, with your career, with everything in total? And some people have vague idea, but they're not 100% clear. And we should be, because once you 100% clear on what is it that you want, your brain will start helping you to achieve it. It's like, if I ask you, like, hey, do you want to buy a new car, and you say, like, yes, I want to buy a new BMW, and you made a decision, and you say, like, it's going to be a red BMW, you will go outside and suddenly you see red BMWs everywhere. They've been there before, but now your brain is actually helping you with your goal. Because once we have clear goal, clear visions, what is it that we want, our brain will help us. But if it's very vague, like, hey, I just want to lose some weight, your brain is not going to help you, because that goal is not good enough. It's not clear enough, at least not for your brain. So yeah, clarity is the most important thing. I have a framework that I created about 10 years ago. I call it Vision GPS. And the vision is that clarity. Vision is that destination. What is it that we actually want to achieve? And the GPS is an acronym from goals, planning process, and systems. And that GPS works exactly like the GPS in your car. It will take you to your destination if your destination is clear. If you know exactly where you're going, you can go from Chicago to New York, because you know exactly where you're going. If you just say, like, hey, let's go somewhere, well, you'll be drifting around, because you will never get there.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I mean it's a beautiful analogy as you were describing it. I was thinking I recently took a road trip, and when I was mapping out the road trip, I typed in the city because I didn't have the final address
Mm.
yet. So it would have gotten me from where I live in Raleigh to Arizona. But if I just typed in Arizona, I could potentially
Yeah.
be hours away from my target. I'd be close, but I would be hours away. But the finer in you refine
Mm.
that target when you put the
Yes.
actual address in, well, then you get
Yeah.
there and you have an accurate map on how to get there.
Yeah.
So I really like that analogy. Is that why you say too that clarity beats motivation? Can you explain that distinction really quick for me?
Yes. You see, motivation is overrated. Motivation comes and goes. It's nice to be motivated. It's nice to, have that motivation. But with motivation, it's coming and going. Motivation is like taking a shower. You have to take it every single day. You have to motivate yourself every day. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes we just have a bad day, and we want to do nothing. But with clarity, it's like, when you have clear goals, if you have the clear vision of what is it that you want to achieve, it will push you even when you have a bad day. Most people procrastinate because they have no idea what they want. We wouldn't be procrastinating if we knew exactly what is it that we want. That's the motivation, behind proper vision, behind proper goals, behind smart goals. I Obviously, I always say to people, almost everything is possible. Yes, you have to be realistic. So when I say to people, if you have goals, try to have those smart goals. As cliche as it sounds, a lot of people heard about smart goals, but very few people actually use smart goals. Um, they have to be specific, measurable, realistic. Obviously, if you are 60 years old, you're not going to become an Olympian champion, right? So you have to be a little bit realistic. But at the same time, I always say to people, think big, have big visions, because if you only achieve half of that vision, you will be way, way better off than most people anyway.
Yeah, I don't know though, because wasn't there that guy from Turkey? He made the news because he was like the shooting. I didn't watch the Olympics, as you could probably tell. He was a shooter, but he didn't look like he really belonged there, and he got second place or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, but yeah, shooting is a little bit different because you
So
don't have
maybe
to
you
be
could be
super
60 and make
athletic.
the Olympics. You're not running
Yeah,
track
yeah,
though. I for
yeah.
sure know
That's what I meant. Yes, you
that.
caught me. That's what I meant.
No, I love it, and you're so right. I think it's so hard to sustain motivation over long periods of time.
Mm,
In the traditional way we talk about motivation, that's a rabbit hole we don't need to go down today. But this fact of setting clear goals with the plan and with the systems, I'd love for you to elaborate on your Vision GPS framework, because I think it's super cool, and I'm sure it'll help at least a few people listening. So why don't we
mm.
dive in there? Where do you usually start with people when you're introducing this for the first time?
Well, first of all, we need that destination, and I like what you said about going to Arizona. Yeah, if you have a specific city, you don't need to have a specific address to get there. A city to start with, that's enough, and that's exactly what I also say to my clients. Your vision doesn't has to be 100% accurate, 100% clear, but you need at least 70, 80%. It must be clear enough, but it doesn't have to be 100% finished. But you have to have that destination. You have to know where are you heading, because how can you hit a goal if you cannot see it, right? It's very difficult. So vision is the most crucial thing, and then we go into the GPS. Obviously, we need to have goals, long-term goals, short-term goals, mid-term um, goals, because ideally we want to achieve something every single day that will give us dopamine and it will motivate us. Um, or it will help us with a discipline, because I always say to people, discipline is way better than motivation. Motivation, again, comes and goes. Discipline is something that you train every single day, every day. So we must have goals, and again, they have to be smart goals. Now it's not just a plan, it's a planning process. I sometimes have to explain to people, okay, so what's the difference between a plan and a planning process? A plan is fixed. If something will happen, like a pandemic, for example, suddenly your plan is just no good because you cannot follow that plan. But the planning process is all about being flexible. That P in my GPS is partly based on a Sun Tzu book, the art of war. Sorry, because you have to keep observing what's going on. You have to make sure that you see everything, and if something changes, you have to adapt, and you have to adapt quickly. Because again, I always say to my clients, success like speed. If something needs to change, it's better if you change it as soon as possible. So that's the P for the planning process. And systems are different things that will help you on daily basis to push you forward. Because I've got another interesting framework that I call no 0% days, which means if you want to succeed in something, you have to make progress every single day, every day, even if it's just 1%, even if it's just like 2% of progress, but you have to make it every day. As we were talking earlier, I always say, if you want to succeed in something, you have to be a little bit crazy. You have to be a little bit obsessed about it. And I've worked with hundreds of people, and I noticed that pattern, that very successful people, they have a vision and they're really obsessed about that vision in a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way. So yeah, once we have all those four elements, so the vision is the most important one, and then goals, planning process, and systems, for example, like for entrepreneurs, systems is SEO, search engine optimization. It's a system that works 24-hour a day. Google ads are also systems that help us 24-hour a day. Online, offline systems. Like there's a beautiful book by James Clear, Atomic Habits, and he's talking a little bit about systems in his book, and he's also saying that goals are great, but goals are not enough. And I actually created my Vision GPS about 3 years before James published his Atomic Habits, but I 100% agree with him. Like goals are not enough. We need to have a destination, then goals, obviously smart goals. Then we need to have a continue planning process in place that we can keep an eye on it, and then we must have different systems that will help us to proceed, to achieve that vision. Once we have all of those four components, once we have a vision and then GPS, that GPS will help us to achieve that vision, as simple as that. But if you're going to lack one of this, if you're going to have great goals but you're not going to have a planning process in place, you're going to fail, unfortunately, because we need all of it.
Yeah, I mean that's probably where, I mean, at first hearing it, that's where I would think most people get stuck, because you have the two sides of planning, right? You have the perfectionism on
Mm,
the front side of it, where you just want to get it right and it has to be perfect and it has to be beautiful, and we have to think of every possible scenario that could go wrong, up through and including a pandemic. And then on the backside, you have the phrase, no plan survives first contact with the enemy, which you
mm.
also alluded to, that you have to be willing to pivot and change that plan and adapt. How do you help people combat those two things? Or are there root causes below them that really cause things like the analysis paralysis, and the unwillingness to change when you do contact the enemy, so to speak? How do you help people through that?
Well, first of all, make sure that when you plan, you have to plan that you're going to fail. Not once, not twice. You're going to fail quite a few times. Quite a few times, the things will not going to go your way. Something will break. It's not going to be perfect at all. Uh, Perfectionism is fucking up some people's dreams because people are waiting for the perfect moment, but perfect moment doesn't exist. Or people waiting for confidence. The problem is confidence only coming after doing things. The same with motivation. Motivation usually comes after we do something and we succeeded, and then we're like, oh wow, cool, right? I want to do more of it. Which means, and also, if you want to learn something, if you want to be, I don't know, good at doing podcasts, or you want to be a great public speaker, or you want to be the best Formula One driver, at the beginning you're going to suck, you're going to be horrible at it, in anything, right? If you want to be a great coach, yeah, at the beginning you have to coach everyone just to get that experience. There's a uh, the 10,000 hour rule, right? That if you want to be good at something, you have to spend 10 hours. And it's just an example. I always say to people, for some people, it's going to be 5,000 hours to be good at something. For some, it's going to be 25,000 hours, but the time will pass anyway. So, you know, do something every day that will take you towards your vision and your goals. It's so important to actually do things. Procrastination, to be honest with you, I was so good at procrastinating that I could teach it. I was so good at it, right? And then I learned that we all procrastinate on many things. It's just successful people procrastinate on different things than unsuccessful people. Unsuccessful people procrastinate on important things, when successful people, they actually procrastinate on minor things, like, I don't know, scrolling a TikTok or stuff like that. Successful people, they focus on the most important things, urgent and important, and then important, not just urgent things.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good distinction there. And I would assume it comes from having that GPS laid out. I mean, successful people, they know exactly what they're doing. They know where they're going. They
Mm,
know where they need to be. Well, maybe they don't know exactly where they need to be. That's why they have assistants and black cars driving them around. But they know in theory that they need to be doing things that
mm,
get them closer to their goals. Where I don't want to just generalize and say unsuccessful people, but maybe people who have not reached their goals yet. Um,
sure.
the people who everyday people, so to speak, we don't have that level of priority. how much of your time when working with people is just readjusting your focus to say everything that's not urgent and important or important is just not going to happen at this
Mm.
moment? And how do you get people past that? Because that is a crucial step to actually achieving success.
So I'm sure that you heard about the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle, right? So if you have 10 things to do on your to-do list, probably 2 out of those 10 are crucial things. The big problem is, more often than not, those are the most difficult tasks. And most people, they will avoid them and they will do the rest 8 before starting the most crucial 2. But but if they only concentrate on those 8 and it will take you 8 or 9 hours, now you're tired and you cannot really do those important things, so you move them to tomorrow or the next week. And most people, they major in minor things. They're doing loads of things and they're very busy, but they're not productive because they're not focusing on the right things. There's a beautiful book by Brian Tracy called Eat That Frog, and that it's all about productivity and time management. And it's not something that Brian invented, but it's, if you have those 2 tasks and we call them frogs, do them first thing in the morning, because probably that's going to be the most difficult task that you're going to do, which means anything else is going to be easy, right? But now you're making progress, a proper progress. Again, 80-20 rule. If you only do those 2 tasks, those 2 tasks means 80% of all the progress. If you concentrate on those 8 tasks, you're only making 20% of progress. And then they're going to add up, in the future. Suddenly you're going to have so many difficult tasks, to do. You're not going to have enough time to do it. And I always say to people, start with the most important things, because even if you're going to do 1 or 2 things today, those 2 tasks will take you so much closer to your vision or to achieving your goal than doing those 8 tasks that are just minor.
Yeah, even if you just did that for as little as 3 months, you'll get
100%.
further along than you normally would in 3 months, and you'd be probably blown away
100%.
by the impact in your business. So, Jake, I love this. This was a great episode. It's we need these constant reminders to say, it's not all about just getting things done. It's not chasing somebody else's vision. It's get clear on yours. It's do the important things and actually make sure you're making progress towards your goals. And again, like I said before, not just spinning your wheels. So thank you for coming, Jake. Where should people go to learn more about you and see what else you have to offer?
Yeah, just simply go to my website, jakesmolarek.com, or Google me. There's not that many Jake Smolareks out there. You can find my website, you can find my socials, and then, yeah, if you want to get in touch, get in touch.
I would venture to guess there's not more than a handful. Maybe we'll have to see how many Jake Smolareks there are out there. But I appreciate this one for stopping by, sharing your wisdom. Wherever you are, those links are down below in the show notes, whether you're watching or listening. Jake, thanks for stopping by and thanks for listening. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Harmonious at Lunch podcast. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're on, and we want to invite you to join us in the Small Business Success Facebook group, our private group where guests and listeners come together to grow your business. We want impact-driven entrepreneurs who are ready to go to the next level in this group so we can all share ideas, collaborate, and grow our businesses together. Go to whatif.com/group, and we want to invite you to join today. See you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.